Shri Advaita Sita. Hare Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita. Hare Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita. Chaitanya Bhatta Raguna. Chaitanya Bhatta Raguna. Deva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raguna. Deva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raguna. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Swami Shubhar ki Kanana Shubhar ki Anant Kori Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namachar Shri Thakur ki Premshko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Shri Vedikarara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakana Radhakana Guru Govardhan ki Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Navri Mayapuram ki Gangamai Yamuna ki Tulsi Maharani ki Bhakta Devi ki ISKCON founder Acharya Shubhavar ki, Shri Radha Gopinath ki, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki, Shri Shravanataya ki, Radhadesh Dham ki, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki, all glories to the Samadhi, all glories to the Samadhi, all glories to the Samadhi, all glories to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th Canto, Chapter 22. Bali Maharaj surrenders his life. Text 31. Esa me prapitastanam.
Esa me prapitastanam.
Dusprapam amarairapi.
Dusprapam amarairapi.
Savanyanantarasyayam.
Savanyanantarasyayam.
Bhavitendro madasraya.
Bhavitendro madasraya.
Esa me prapitastanam.
Esa me prapitastanam.
Dusprapam amarairapi.
Dusprapam amarairapi.
Savanyanantarasyayam.
Savanyanantarasyayam.
Bhavitendro madasraya.
Bhavitendro madasraya.
Esa me prapitastanam.
Esa me prapitastanam.
Dusprapam amarairapi.
Dusprapam amarairapi.
Savanyanantarasyayam.
Savanyanantarasyayam.
Bhavitendro madasraya.
Bhavitendro madasraya.
Esha me prapitastanam.
Esha me prapitastanam.
Dusprapam amarairapi.
Dusprapam amarairapi.
Savanyanantarasyayam.
Savanyanantarasyayam.
Bhavitendro madasraya.
Bhavitendro madasraya.
Esha me prapitastanam.
Esha me prapitastanam.
Dusprapam amarairapi.
Dusprapam amarairapi.
Savanyanantarasyayam.
Savanyanantarasyayam.
Bhavitendro madasraya.
Bhavitendro madasraya.
Esha me prapitastanam.
Esha me prapitastanam.
Dusprapam amarairapi.
Dusprapam amarairapi.
Savanyanantarasyayam.
Savanyanantarasyayam.
Bhavitendro madasraya.
Bhavitendro madasraya.
Esha me prapitastanam.
Esha me prapitastanam.
Dusprapam amarairapi.
Dusprapam amarairapi.
Savarnerantarasyaayam.
Savanyanantarasyayam.
Bhavitendro madashrayah.
Bhavitendro madasraya.
Esha me prapitastanam.
Esha me prapitastanam.
Dusprapam amarairapi.
Dusprapam amarairapi.
Savanyanantarasyayam.
Savanyanantarasyayam.
Bhavitendro madasraya.
Bhavitendro madasraya.
Esaha Bali Maharaj. By me. Prapitaha has achieved. Sthanam, a place. Dusprapam, extremely difficult to obtain. Amarai, Api, even by the demigods. Savarnyam Tarasya, during the period of the Manu known as Savarni. I am this Bali Maharaj. Bhavita will become Indra, the Lord of the heavenly planets. Matasraya, completely under my protection. Translation. The Lord continued, because of his great tolerance, I've given him a place not obtainable even by the demigods. He will become king of the heavenly planets during the period of the Manu known as Savarni. Purport. This is the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even if the Lord takes away a devotee's material opulences, the Lord immediately offers him a position of which the demigods cannot even dream. There are many examples of this in the history of devotional service. One of them is the opulence of Sudam Vipra. Sudam Vipra suffered severe material scarcity, but he was not disturbed and did not deviate from devotional service. Thus, he was ultimately given an exalted position by the mercy of Lord Krishna. Here the word Madasrayaha is very significant, because the Lord wanted to give Bali Maharaj the exalted position of Indra. The demigods might naturally have been envious of him and might have fought to disturb his position. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead assured Bali Maharaj that he would always remain under the Lord's protection. Madasraya. Om Agyanti Marandasya Gyanandana Salakya Shakshurun Militanyena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamanam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Sakam Vitam Sya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopi Akanta Radhakanta Namaste Tapta Kancana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Visvan Sutadevi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpataryacha Kripa Sanubhyayecha Patitam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we can see this purport is based on the principle that in the material world, whatever we can dream, reality is always less. In the spiritual world, whatever we can dream, reality always exceeds that dream. So, in this way, that is the nature of Krishna. Because Krishna is extremely generous. Therefore, in the spiritual world, whatever we attain is greater than anything we can imagine. And we see that in many examples. We see it here in the example of Bali Maharaj, we see it in the example, as mentioned here, of Sudama Vipra, we see it in the example of Dhruva Maharaj, and Dhruva Maharaj was acknowledging it. Dhruva Maharaj was saying, I was desiring broken pieces of glass, and now I've got diamonds. So I've got something so much greater than what I could have ever imagined. And here I am, somehow or other, astounded. Astounded. I mean, it's blown my mind, so to speak. It's just the reciprocation of the Lord goes beyond. The other day, I was remembering the story of Kaliya, and it's the same thing. Here's Kaliya, he's a serpent, he has already killed Krishna's friends and calves. Okay, Krishna fixed it by reviving them, but basically still, he did it, right? And then, coward boys stand there sort of squeezing themselves, we are alive. Meanwhile, Krishna jumps in the water and Krishna gets grabbed in the coils of that serpent, and it starts to look really bad until he frees himself and starts to dance, and then on the hoods and kicks the serpent. Then at the end, when the serpent is almost dead, his wives come and start praying and crying, and then finally, all right, what to do? So then Krishna allows Kaliya to live. But again, he has purified him by his lotus feet. I mean, if you get Krishna's lotus feet on the head, that's very great benediction. And he got it many times, not once, but many times. So, on many heads. So he got a lot of benefit, and therefore in the ultimate, he was very fortunate. And then Krishna immediately reinstated him in his kingdom. He said, oh yes, you return now to your kingdom. Do not worry, Garuda, who was your enemy, will no longer be your enemy because of my footprints on your head. So you can happily rule over your kingdom. So obviously, as Kaliya was being kicked and got a serious headache, even to the point of spitting blood, he didn't think that it was going to have a happy end at that stage. I mean, it looked pretty grim. But nonetheless, it just, because he had surrendered to the Supreme Lord at the end, I mean, he now became a king on that Ramanaka island. But this time protected by the Supreme Lord. This time not only protected by the Lord's good wishes, but also protected by living by the Lord's order. When we live by the order of the Lord, then we are protected by the Supreme Lord. And as long as we rebel against this order of the Lord, then we are struggling, and destiny is not in my favor. And it's like, things were going very well for quite some time. No, really. It was going really well. And then suddenly it turned, and so much bad luck came. I think it's the stars. Yes, but Rahu has started, and now my chart says for the next 19 years it's going to be misery. I hope I'll survive till Jupiter comes next after Rahu. Yes, in this way we can live by the stars, but the protection of the stars is not so reliable. Okay, we can wear a ring. You wear a ring. It helps. You have some, issues with Saturn is another one, another malefic, blue sapphire will fix that, and looks good as well. But even then, there was a something I saw many years ago, actually, a film named The Omen, and it was showing how the devil had appeared in the world as a child, this, that, and there was a priest, he knew about it, and he had his safe room, and he was nailing more and more crosses on the wall, and he's saying the power of evil is getting too great. And then he nailed another cross to the wall, sort of to ward off that evil. And it's like, in the end, it didn't work. Right? In the end, he got killed, and evil, evil was victorious. What to say? So, if we are relying on our own control of destiny, then sometimes it appears that things are going very well, that we have figured it out, but then suddenly everything turns, and what can be done? What can we do? And then we have to just simply deal with whatever comes, and accept that also as the mercy of the Lord. When the Lord is dealing in the spiritual world, or on the spiritual plane, then his only interest is to increase the love of his devotee in exchanges. In the material world, it is sometimes a little different. I was just with Sachinandan Swami, and he always has these stories. Now this is an old story of his, which I later found out came from South India. Anyway, I was just talking, he said, yes, I just pick up these things from the eater. He does. It's like that. Anyway, this story is about a king, and the king was in his kingdom in South India, and had a court pandit, like that was the custom, and that was partially entertainment, and also these pandits would give the king legitimacy. The pandit was supporting the king, and then the king could rule on the basis of scripture. So it was important to have a pandit. So he had his pandit, and one day he asked the pandit, what is the daily work of God? The pandit said, the creation. He said, the creation. No, said the king, no, the creation is something he does once. I'm asking about the daily work. What's he doing on a regular basis? The pandit said, that's an awkward question. I have to consult the scriptures. Kindly grant me a little time. And meanwhile, he was in trouble until he met this cowherd man. And this cowherd man, he saw the Brahmana, and he found out the Brahmana was leaving town to visit a relative who had become ill. Anyway, and said, why are you leaving? Because the king is asking these impossible questions. And it's like, what is the question then? What's the daily work of God? Coward man said, that's easy. So then said like, okay, they decided to go back. He went to the kingdom, and then the Brahmana came and said, Your Majesty, your question is actually very simple, therefore I've asked this coward man to answer the question. And the coward man sat on the ground, and the king on the throne. The coward man then said, Your Majesty, is it true that according to Vedic literature, one who speaks should sit higher than the one who's asking the question? The king said, what? You mean you want to sit on the throne? Well, what do the Vedas say? So the king, sort of grumbling, came down the throne, signaling to the royal guard, if the answer is not good, Anyway, the coward man was on the throne and said, Your Majesty, your question is already answered. The blood pressure reached dangerous levels. To save his life, he then said, but I will still answer it. The daily work of God is to pull down those who are proud and to elevate those who are humble. So it's a good story. At least the conclusion is really profound. Right? So bear with me for 3D effects on the king and so on, which took a little time. Yes, this is what we're experiencing. It's also called Purna Musika Bhav, right? Be a mouse again. I don't know how many times in your life you've been a mouse, but I have been a mouse a few times, right? Every once in a while, bang, my life explodes, everything goes wrong, and suddenly I was just on top of the elephant, and then the elephant is on top of me, and suddenly I'm a mouse again. I'm reduced. This is the nature of the material world, where we come up and we are reduced. We come up and we are reduced. Tasyaiva payati vikovido. Then, but 2 words I forgot, and then talapyate uparyada. That we are going upwards sometimes in the universe, become demigods and all these things, and then down again. Too. So, and life itself is like that. You're a kid, you look at the changing bodies diorama, it goes up and down, right? And gradually you're losing it with time, more and more, little by little, hiding it, but definitely losing it. So this Purna Musika Bhav idea, this idea to become a mouse again, to be reduced from one's position, is the dynamic of the material world, in order to bring us to that point of humility. How can one surrender unless there is humility? As long as there is pride in our own realization, our own ability, our own knowledge, our own power, then how can we surrender? How can we depend on Krishna's power? I don't need Krishna for this. I don't. I can do it myself. Okay, go try for a little while longer then, if you can do it yourself. Right? Until you realize maybe you cannot do it yourself after all, and then depend on Krishna after all. So, in this way, surrender is about this understanding that without Krishna, nothing can be done. Not that we are waiting. It is said, even a lion who is very powerful still has to hunt. The lion cannot wait for the deer to run into its mouth. Deer in. Next. 2 deer for breakfast, 4 for lunch, and he's just lying there. No, he has to hunt. So we have to make that endeavor. Surrender means endeavor. In the case of Bali Maharaj, his endeavor showed in when he understood that Sukra Acharya, his spiritual master, was giving inappropriate instructions. That he understood the purpose of all injunctions is to come to this point of simply surrendering to the Supreme Lord and pleasing the Supreme Lord. My spiritual master is now explaining why this is not advantageous for me. Because he's saying, I had promised 3 steps of land, but you'll take everything in 2 steps, then you won't be able to give the 3rd step, then you'll get punished for that, you get a whole reaction for it, and so on, and you get greatly entangled, so better you don't give. So you don't get that, to face all those reactions. So therefore, for your own good, I must advise you, do not give the 3 steps of land, and for my good as well. But Bali Maharaj could see, no, this is Atmendriya, this is self-centered, this is not Krishnendriya, this is not aiming at pleasing the senses of Krishna. Therefore, it is to be rejected. The only consideration should be Krishnendriya, not calculating when is it Atmendriya, when is it Krishnendriya, and how, and now, so when is it satisfying the self and when it is satisfying Krishna. And now the art of spiritual life is to combine the two. I'm looking for my niche in Krishna consciousness. It's not easy to find that spot where I'm just rightly situated in service of Krishna, and at the same time I'm just rightly situated to satisfy my own desires. That is what I'm looking for. If only I could find that secret. I've been looking for a long time and I'm getting better at it. I got my niche. No, but Bali Maharaj shows a level of dedication to Krishna which goes beyond his niche. He had a nice niche in the heavenly planets, quite okay. Indra's throne is quite comfy, and everything that comes with it. He had it all, the 3 worlds, pretty good. I mean, whatever you could desire in the material world, basically, he had it. So that part was good, but he could see that there was a higher principle, simply Krishnendriya, to satisfy the Lord. And therefore, as a Mahajan, as an example, as a role model, he shows this full surrender. We are conditioned souls who somehow or other got a lot of mercy, right? And that has sort of lifted us up, where we are within a process where we are accepting regulative principles, but it is like a tight shoe. I mean, how long can you wear a tight shoe at one? Sometimes you have to just take it off. They may look really good, but then every once in a while, under the table, you take them off just to let your feet relax for a moment. How long can we live a life which is too tight? How long can we live a life based on rules and regulations if it's not our desire? No, this is the big challenge. No. So where did Bali Maharaj get this strength? That is a question. I mean, okay, he's a role model, he's a Mahajan. Mahajana yena gatal sapanta. One is supposed to follow in the footsteps of the Mahajans. Now Bali is a role model. Great, but if I have to do what Bali Maharaj did, can I? And if I do, will I not later on meet myself again? Premature renunciation. Premature renunciation, and then one day, you run past someone and you see, that's me. I just ran past myself. Now that's not a very good thing when you run past yourself. In other words, when you go too far beyond what you can handle. So, how can we take Bali Maharaj as a role model and actually do this? And then we have to know his secret, where he got his strength. So that question may arise. Then we can see that Bali Maharaj's father was a first-class demon named Virochana. And there is a Puranic reference of how Virochana was sent on behalf of the demons to Lord Brahma and Indra on behalf of the demigods to ask what's the goal of life. Then Lord Brahma said the goal of life is to enjoy to the fullest extent in this world. Virochana said, I've always known it. He said, like, this is it. Confirms everything I already knew. I think I don't need to waste any more time. I know all this. So he went back to the demons and told them, Brahma said the ultimate goal of life is to enjoy to the fullest extent. So the demons said, we've always known it. Makes a lot of sense. Right? Indra, who heard the same answer, was thinking, it doesn't quite make sense because I've tried it. I tried it, and I had plenty of facility, and I really tried it, but it didn't work. Not all the time. And therefore, ultimately, and I always had to fight with these demons, and I'm kind of tired of that. So what do? No, there must be something more. So he performed more austerity, got another darshan, and finally, eventually, Brahma told him the absolute truth. So Virochana was certainly a materialist, the father of Bali Maharaj. He was also the son of Prahlad. How, somehow or other, so the son of Prahlad didn't become a devotee. What can we say? It happens. Yeah, sometimes devotee children don't become devotees. What can we say? But anyway, there was transcendence in the family. It was there, and it happened to be very, very powerful. And even a moment's association of a pure devotee, Lobha Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastraka, Lobha Matra Sarva Siddhi Hai. All perfection can be attained. So it was by the connection with Prahlad Maharaj. He got the blessings from Prahlad Maharaj. He made that connection. Now he got that connection by good fortune. But anyway, that doesn't matter. However you get it, however you get the connection, but it is by that connection, by the blessing of the Vaishnav, that he became great, and that he was able to do this, that he actually had the strength to say, okay, take it all, even if I have to suffer, take it. And he was already aware. Sukracharya had already told him, you're going to suffer, let me suffer. Well, and then he suffered. And then he suffered. That's the next stage. But first, let us stay with his blessings of the Vaishnava. So that is our movement, a movement based on blessings. When we are looking at what puts more weight in the scale at the end, when the final decision comes, back to Godhead or not. And all right. How much service has he done? Put in the scale. Wasn't so. It was a bit meager, wasn't it? The scale is still sort of leaning towards it's too light. Finally, the blessings add the most weight. The blessings add more weight than the service. They have to go together, but one must understand it. Therefore, it's not by our own doings, although we must put our weight in the scale, give it the best we have. But yet, the blessings are more important. So, therefore, one must seek out these blessings. Somehow or other, Bali Maharaj was lucky that he had a great pure devotee as his grandfather. That helps if you have a good grandfather. But, even that's not enough, right? You still have to do something yourself. And that Bali Maharaj did by then giving everything, knowing though that he would get a reaction, that most likely he would suffer, and then he did suffer. Then he gets strangled in a snake. Now that's creepy. Right? A snake is a creepy thing, and then a huge python which is strangling is not exactly. So there's a lot of agony, physical agony, mental agony. Obviously, you don't think it's going to stop with strangling. I mean, when a snake strangles, you think you're dead. Right? You think, this is it, I'm going to die now. We are good at that. I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. So the mind will greatly attack at that point, and Bali Maharaj had to tolerate this with his intelligence. It's not that Bali Maharaj was like made of stone and was not affected by the whole thing. Obviously he was physically affected, it is described, and he was mentally affected. He was going through an extreme crisis, but somehow or other his faith was strong. And therefore he had strong faith in pure devotional service, because he had seen it in his grandfather. And he had that. So by seeing a great devotee, one can develop great faith. And that is very powerful. That is very powerful. I have one example, a short story. I was in Mayapur one year, and this person came, an older man, and he had like a beret on his head, you know. He had like a little pointed beard down and a little mustache. And when I saw him, I thought, looks like a painter. And sure enough, he was a painter. But anyway, this painter, you know, in Mayapur, I like to do something more than usual, so I like to get up very early. I also go to bed very early. It gets dark early anyway in Mayapur, so early to bed, early to rise, and then get up like really like early. So I was up early, and then I would go out and chant, and then he was already up chanting. Go like, whoa, I was early, but that's really early, you know? So he was really early and chanting. Then he would be there in every arati throughout the day. You see him in the temple, going through every arati. So I was watching this man for some days, you know, and looking at him, saying like, and after a while I go, who is this guy, you know? Who is he? How can he do all these things, right? How is it possible? Who is this person? What is the source of his strength? You try and do that, you know. It's not so easy. Getting up so early, going to all the aratis, and just like, it takes some mind control, sense control, and chanting, and the whole day chanting. Never, whenever he wasn't in the kirtan, he was chanting. I was like, what's he? Who is this man? So one day I just went up to him. I said, are you a demigod? He said, maybe. You know, so it's just really intriguing. Then finally, the story came out. One day he gave me a poem. And the poem, I didn't memorize it verbatim, you know, so I have to just paraphrase it. But it was more or less like, I saw that old man and his disciples, and I kept a safe distance. Anyway, that was the gist of the poem. Quite clear. Not safe enough. Because although he had kept a distance, although he'd never come close, and he saw Prabhupada and his disciples in '67 in San Francisco, although he never got close, still he developed faith. And on the strength of that faith, he was able to do all this. Right? Because of that faith in Prabhupada, he was able to get up in the middle of the night, chant all day, fix his mind. Good luck. And all the artis and so on. Very interesting. So, Pali Maharaj had developed deep faith, and it was deep faith because of seeing Prahlad, and because of that, and because of some association, some instruction even from Prahlad. Therefore, that can be the only source of our strength. So when it comes to surrender, we have to look for blessings. You have to look for the blessings of a Vaishnava. Therefore, before we can surrender to the Lord, we first have to try to surrender to a Vaishnava. Now, one spiritual master made a comment and said, at first they practice on us, and then when they are qualified, then they can serve Krishna directly. I thought, interesting comment. Yes, we are saying to the spiritual master, from this day on I'm your servant. But we're not doing a very great job at it. No, we're not like cent per cent. We're calculating. Krishnendriya, Atmendriya. The senses of Krishna, my own senses. And we're always looking for a path where we can bring the two together. And that we call spiritual life. And of course, that is spiritual life. But it's not unalloyed pure devotional service. Unalloyed pure devotional service is only about satisfying the senses of Krishna. Now, any questions or comments? Where? Yes.
Thank you, that was a lovely class. But, you gave the analogy of taking off a tight shoe to relax,
Tight shoe, yeah.
to relax the feet. I missed the point there, I didn't quite understand the analogy.
Okay, life can be like a tight shoe when it's so many rules and regulations. So if we are only practicing Krishna consciousness based on a process and based on rules and regulations, it may feel like a tight shoe. Because there's Krishnendriya, the desire of Krishna, which gives us that path, and there is Atmendriya, our senses who want something else. So at that stage, we may feel all these rules and regulations as being confining, and the path will be very difficult. It says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Durgame patimendasya skalat padakatir muhuyat kripa swastidamnena santa santavalambana. My path is very difficult. My feet are slipping again and again. Same thing, like that struggle. But by the stick of the mercy of the Vaishnavas for my support, I can do it. Not only Vaishnavas who say, yes, you can do it, we believe in you. Not only Vaishnavas who say, I'm your friend, but seeing that others are doing, seeing that others have become purified by this process, seeing that they have become attached to Krishna, we realize it can happen to me also. It is possible. I see living examples before me. So to take shelter of living examples will help us. If we just live with rules and regulations, it will be hard. But that inspiration of the living example, of connecting with the Vaishnava and getting blessings from this Vaishnava, even beyond looking as an example, just getting the blessings of the Vaishnava. The blessings of the Vaishnavas may come in a way that give us insight. But it is even more than that. It attracts the favor of Krishna, because the Vaishnava have credit with Krishna. And when the Vaishnava is asking, oh, Krishna, please be kind to this person, then, even if we don't deserve it, may happen. So then even the tight shoes may not be so tight anymore. Right? So therefore, we cannot just live with, being strict about rules and regulations. I'm trying to be a good devotee. I'm very strict. Fast every Monday, and all these things. Forget it. It's not going to help. You can fast every Monday, but what will you do on Tuesday to compensate for it? So that fasting will just drive the material desires underground, but they'll still be there. But when we have great faith, then great faith that Krishna Bhakti Koila Sarva Karma Krita Hoya, that by engaging in Krishna consciousness, all good will come, then we can let go. Alright, I let go of this material sense gratification. Although I'm attached to it. I am attached to it, but I'm letting go because I know I'm getting something better. It's not that I'm not attached, I am attached, but I'll get something better. So get over this attachment. And over time, you get over it. Like this. Yes?
It's related to that, that's a premature renunciation.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to what you're talking now. Could you say a little bit more on that? How to be aware of not falling into that trap?
Yes. Premature renunciation. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yogam. So Vairagya is part of Lord Chaitanya's movement. It is there. Renunciation is the Sanskrit word is Vairagya. So we cannot avoid Vairagya altogether. It is the degree of Vairagya. Therefore, it is first of all, I came to a devotee and he didn't know what to do with his spiritual life. He was a typical university man. He spent his life studying, and then the easiest thing was just to go on and teach in the university, because That's where his life was. So he did that, and then he was a bachelor, and he lived in his bachelor flat, and every chair in the house had some books in it, and here and there clothes. A typical bachelor flat, right? Okay, get the picture, the kind of person I'm talking about. So he, and he was just confused. What shall I do? One day he wanted to do a PhD. Another day he wanted to go and study scripture. This is like, actually, I think I should just really go and do some scriptural studies and so on. Like studying is my thing. And I said, like, your choice is not, shall I be a PhD? Shall I study scripture? That's not your question. Your question is, what ashram shall I choose? First choose an ashram. And once you've chosen an ashram, then it will become clear, right, what you should study, scripture or... so you don't have a wife, so, well, you could be a brahmachari, and then you can study scripture, or you're going to be a grihastha. But bachelor is not an ashram. It's no bachelor ashram, so sorry, it's not going to do it, right? Well, he was attached to being a bachelor, and it says grumbling for a while. Anyway, then he chose an ashram. Stop here, but so this choosing of an ashram is prescribed. And that helps, right? Because there is Kula Dharma, there is the whole thing, there's the whole prescribed duties for the ashram, and there we are, well, that gives us something to do, something, it's a model, and it's the shoe, okay, we choose that shoe, and then it takes a while before the shoe really starts to fit, right? New shoe never fits. It takes a while, like to sort of find one's way in that ashram. But that's how it works. And Varna ashram is then a system of gradual renunciation, very gradual actually. So that's why the Varna ashram is important, to have a systematic way of renunciation, not just by inspiration. I think, you just had twins, and 3 months later you think, I think I'm going to take sannyas, I don't have sweet words for such people, I mean, something like jerk would be befitting, a few other such words. Come on, take the consequences of your actions, right? Now, like someone gets married, there's no twins, there's nothing, no kids. You get married to some lady, and after 2 years you want to renounce, forget it. It's not fair. You are mean, You're just like really cold. You're just a selfish person. Do you think you can take sannyas on the basis of selfishness? Don't you realize that sannyas means sacrificing more and more and more? You have to sacrifice your whole life for other people. We are Gosti and Andi sannyasis, it's like the whole day you have to, you give your ear, here's my ear. Do you want to chew it for a while? Go ahead. I see, yes, no, definitely. And not only artificial, not like, no, really, from the heart. You have to really let them chew. And it bites sometimes. It bites, and you feel the bite. But that's sannyas, you have to sacrifice. So it's not about being selfish, right? It's about trying to become selfless, which is okay. That takes a lot of time. I'm working on it. So sannyas means first sacrifice in the ashram you are in, fulfill that, and when that is done, okay, then move on in due course of time. Like this. So Varna ashram is our means to deal with renunciation, and how that fits in the modern world. Well, I don't know. I don't know if you know. Don't know if anybody knows, but somehow or other, we're trying to make the best of it in this modern world.
I cannot remember the Sanskrit, but there is this verse that says that devotional service is joyfully performed.
Susukham kartamadyayam. It's the Raja Vijaya verse. Raja Vijayam Raja Vijayam Pavitram Idamuttam.
So, because how can we, if we are not joyful, then how can we preach? How
Yeah.
can we,
Prabhupada said also, right? Preaching means you just show people how happy you are.
yeah.
It's like, yeah. Well, I have a story. I like stories. You know, I have a story on this, and this is a Sunday feast which is being served, or a feast that's being served traditional way, not buffet style, but sitting in lines. And now it happens to be so that you're sitting in a line a little at the back, and it's the line that's being forgotten by the servers. And it's like really too much. It's a big feast, right? And they come in, you got the rice. But then the cheese sabji go, and they missed your line with the cheese sabji. So they go like, hey, cheese sabji. Meanwhile, because everyone's eating, you start munching on the rice, you know. It's like, finally the cheese sabji comes, and then, you know, they forgot the pineapple chutney. Pineapple, hey, here, no pineapple chutney. And you're munching on your cheese sabji, your rice, this, your pineapple chutney. Finally, at the end, you know, I mean, the ras malai, where's the ras malai? Oh no, ras malai. And then, and to spoil all the cake, I mean, no cake! You've eaten the whole feast and you didn't taste a bite because you were always thinking of the next preparation. So our mind wasn't there because we were too passionate about what we didn't get and so on, and so we missed the taste of everything. We just ate it. We just didn't taste it at all. How was the feast? I don't know. But you ate it. I know. But didn't taste the bite. Yeah. So it is a little bit like that. Govindam Adipurusham. What will be for breakfast today? We're not there. You know. So the joy is there. But we don't see it because our mind is somewhere else. But if we just start looking for the little joyful things, many little joyful things actually give quite some happiness. And there is a lot of that. But we're just looking, I'm not getting it. And we're not actually seeing the nice things that are there. That's one point, I would think. And otherwise, there is fun, right? Like there's a festival right now, it's fun. So we should make sure not to say like, well, I have no time, you know, I'm too busy, I'm not going to Vrindavan this year, I'm not going, it's too expensive. Somehow or other, you know, like we get the money and go because there's Jews there. So unless we start to go out of our way for the Jews, we won't get it. There are people who say, spiritual life, I don't know, it's so austere. And when you ask them, when was the last time you were in Vrindavan? 20 years ago. Maybe need to go look for some juice? Well, I mean, Rati Yatra, all these things, let's be part of it, let's do it. Then there will be joy, for sure. Okay, best I could do this morning. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Kadamba, Kanana.
Okay.
eerst wil ik voor de kijk, wij zijn niet automatisch zoveel normaal hebben. Dat is een hele grote. Ik denk dat we vooral moeten meer is
show you now. I can show you my tune if you want. It's probably quite famous. Let's see if I still know. Actually, I want to come with it.
No.
I was listening to Kirtans with my voice, which are really nice. But I never played any instruments.
Okay. So I actually don't know chords. I only know how to play a single. I only know how to play. So it's actually single keys. Just listen. So I could. I mean, it's already sounds pretty good. It's good.
Yeah, but now this is like playing around with it. I think it's.
Oh yeah, that's kind of a little bit of an advanced technique because it's like holding a chord but also not holding a chord. So for you, you're just holding the chord and singing like that. And you go Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. But then the next level is to kind of hold this chord for just a second and then you play that individual